Welcome back to part 2 of our plenary session. We hope you enjoyed the quiz and had a chance to check out the sponsors area. There'll be further chances to check that out over the lunch break. Already this morning we've heard 2 great stories of how ArcGIS community is making a difference in New Zealand. We're going to continue this now to look at some more technically focused stories of the work that is going on across our region every day. For a number of years now, Eagle Technology has been working with Crown Research Institutes to bring leading-edge science into the domain of GIS users. One of these examples, which I'm particularly excited about, is our work with NIWA to bring their world-class weather forecasting capabilities into GIS, effectively as an ArcGIS web service. We've asked NIWA's Chief Scientist for Environmental Information, Jochen Schmidt, to talk to us today about how that work has progressed since we last met 12 months ago, to share some examples, and to talk about the exciting possibilities that this offers for what we think will be the vast majority of your organisations. Jochen.
Weather affects people, activities, assets in our daily lives at play and at work. Weather conditions cause car accidents, blow container stacks or irrigators over, and cause electricity outages. I'm sure each one of you can think of an area where weather affects your life. Yet the decisions we make around our assets and our activities are often based on just looking out of the window. One key question is how we can improve our lives and our work environments by better planning based on quantitative weather information. And ideally, we want that automated. This could mean automatically plan outdoor activities when it's not raining or spray your orchard when it's not windy. Hello everybody, I'm Jochen Schmidt, Chief Scientist, Environmental Information at NIWA. Today I want to talk about our weather forecasts and how we turn them into location-specific decision support. NIWA has invested about $20 million in upgrading our supercomputing capabilities. We collaborated with Intel, Cray, and IBM to build one of the most advanced supercomputers in the world. We can now achieve 2,000 trillion calculations per second on 28,000 state-of-the-art processors. Our supercomputers allow us to undertake modeling tasks and produce complex visualizations that were not possible before. We can now run 18 parallel weather forecast models for the whole of New Zealand at 1.5 square kilometer resolution. The models we use are developed over decades in collaboration with the international science community and include cutting-edge features such as world-class data assimilation of real-time data and reconciliation of convective atmospheric physics. They are operated across the globe by organizations such as the Australian Bureau of Meteorology, the Met Service of South Korea, India and South Africa, and the US military and Navy. For local areas, we can now predict down to hundreds of meters. As you can see, this gives us the ability to predict very fine granular details of weather, such as local wind funnel effects that was not possible before. At last year's Esri conference, we talked about how we integrated our high-resolution forecasts into a GIS environment for delivery. This year, I want to talk about how we utilize these forecasts and turn them into location-specific decision support. Since last year, we've worked hard on moving beyond just weather, translating weather forecasts into knowledge about the things that you care about, which are geospatially locatable assets or activities or people. We have developed to the ArcGIS platform the capability to combine, to overlay our high-resolution forecasts with geospatially locatable things and provide weather information for these things at a click of a button. So now you can get weather for where your assets are, where your people are, and where you do your activities. This means we can support better planning, what are the optimal conditions for carrying out a particular activity, or when an asset might be at risk, such as a shipping container stack blown over by extreme winds. But this was only the first step. We also have worked on an interface to allow users to define weather conditions for selected assets and select weather parameters and thresholds to create warnings that highlight those conditions in an easy, consumable way. For example, through these interfaces, users can set a very specific wind threshold for a specific asset or asset type such as an irrigator. In summary, we have developed an architecture that allows us to combine our weather forecasts with your assets or activities or people, really anything that is geospatially locatable, and to set thresholds for weather conditions that might be suitable or unsuitable for the particular asset or activity, and to obtain this information in an easy, digestible, and interoperable way using Arcgis Hub Dashboards. I want to show now some examples how this can look like. This Arcgis Hub Dashboard shows custom weather alerts for a whole asset base, in this case electricity lines, and allows the user to visualize weather alerts in a geospatial context. Where is my asset base at most risk? It allows you to display weather alerts in a temporal context. When is my asset base at most risk? It allows users to get detailed, high-resolution weather forecasts for any assets at a click of a button, including the alerts of the user, the customized user set thresholds, the weather thresholds, and when they happen. It includes powerful filter functions, allowing users to create custom views based on various options: geospatial filters, temporal filters, filters based on asset type, weather type, and risk threshold. It includes overview pie charts and lists of assets, and can be customized. This is another example based on activities, in this case, an orchard spray diary. High-resolution weather forecasts for each orchard are linked to the planned spray activities for the orchard and are used based on rain and wind thresholds to optimize the spray calendar, to minimize losses, and to make the spray activity most efficient. Having all this data available in a geospatial framework allows managers to optimize the whole spray calendar activities across their portfolio of orchards based on high-resolution weather data and the related thresholds. And this can be applied to any activity that is locatable in space and scheduled in time. Now, if you think that getting weather warnings for activities days or weeks out is cool, here's a preview on the next capabilities that we're working on, going out to decades into the realm of climate change. NIWA produces climate change predictions using our supercomputer infrastructure. We have worked over the last year with Eagle on geospatially enabling this dataset. And this provides the ability to query what projected climate changes are for a particular point in New Zealand, and this using multiple scenarios and multiple parameters. And these scenarios can also be compared for different timescales to get an understanding of risk and trajectories. What is my climate change risk for my asset or activity for 2050 and 2100? This dashboard allows sea level change scenarios for Wellington to be visualized and overlaid on assets. Assets in this case are historic significant sites and buildings. Users can explore what numbers and types of assets are affected through different sea level change scenarios. This is an example showing how sea level change scenarios can be derived for individual assets, in this case for Auckland buildings. For different sea level rise scenarios, affected assets can be visualized and compared between scenarios. So we can see directly individual buildings potentially affected by sea level rise. And this gives in particular the opportunity to compare the impact of different scenarios in terms of numbers of buildings and areas affected. Today I showed how weather and climate data can be translated into useful information for the things we care about using geospatial frameworks. We are interested in your applications and uses. Please go to the NIWA booth for more information and contact details.
Thank you very much, Jochen. And as Jochen said, please do check out NIWA's information on the virtual booth in the sponsor area. Before we come to our next user story, we wanted to share a little about our first of the 4 gold sponsors today, National Map. National Map is a premier source of authoritative and comprehensive road, address and location data for New Zealand businesses and organisations. It's available to use right out of the box in Arcgis Online. With a heritage that stretches back almost 30 years as part of the Critchlow portfolio of geospatial products and solutions, National Map is now its own discrete business entity. As a wholly New Zealand-owned business, National Map's singular focus today is on the provision of highest quality, fit-for-purpose geospatial and location data, flexible enough to be used in all platforms and viewers. A big thank you to National Map for their support of this event. As you'd expect, planning a city is a complex thing and is in large part a spatial problem, but it is also heavily dependent upon sharing a common understanding between people. Esri's Arcgis Urban is the next generation of geospatially enabled planning tools and includes many of the key technology trends we've seen already, including visualization analysis, 3D web tools and collaboration. But like many cool new applications, the real interest for me is in how it's being applied in the real world. This next presentation is from the Planning and Strategy team at Palmerston North City Council. And for the last 6 months, they've been using Arcgis Urban to create a 3D digital twin of their city. Now, while this is undoubtedly interesting to planners, I think you'll also find it interesting if you're someone who likes SimCity computer games, or if you're simply someone who lives in and cares about the urban environment.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Our planning and strategy team here at Palmerston North City Council are really excited to be presenting to you all today to showcase some of the work we have been doing with Arcgis Urban. We are a multidisciplinary team highly interested in improving and enhancing our planning processes, decision-making and city-making delivery. We will kick off by each of us introducing ourselves. Kia ora, my name is Tony Roberts. I am the GIS analyst. I provide GIS lead, supporting our team to bring together digital technologies and city-making practices.
Kia ora, I'm Mike Jundam. I'm a senior planner. I provide strategic oversight to growth planning in the city, in particular housing.
Kia ora, I'm Dave Charnley. I'm the senior urban designer. I provide design lead and support across a wide range of city-making projects, from structured planning to detailed design, including design review for resource consent.
Traditionally, councils have done a poor job in communication and engagement with the public on city growth and development. For too long, we have undervalued both good visual communication and storytelling. Arcgis offers the ability to bring both good visual communication and storytelling into traditional city planning to improve engagement, behaviours, decision-making, and ultimately outcomes. We have been using Arcgis Urban for the last year, testing out the platform and building out a proof of concept of how we bring GIS, planning and design together in the round, and we would like to now share our work with you.
The national housing crisis has resulted in increased central government intervention in local city making. In 2017, a national policy statement for urban development was released. An updated version was also launched in July this year. This national direction places significant requirements on councils to understand future growth, monitor development and economic trends, and proactively respond to market demands by zoning new land for development and making sure there's adequate infrastructure to support it. We also need to make sure development can proceed in an economically feasible manner. This requires a higher level of data-driven analysis to identify where housing and business needs are expected and how a city is going to respond to that. Growing cities like Palmerston North need to move away from analogue, static processes towards modern, fully digital, interactive solutions. Our traditional 2D maps and paper plans aren't going to cut it. They're too cumbersome and hard for the public to understand. This is where Arcgis Urban comes in.
Arcgis Urban has some key capabilities to aid urban planning and decision-making that looks to help us solve our problems. It helps us visualize projects at the citywide scale. It also looks to streamline the process of development proposals end-to-end. Urban allows us to analyze the impact of project and plan scenarios augmented using situational data about place. We also want it to encourage involvement through public engagement. Let's move to an overview of Urban in action. What you can see here is the overview of Palmerston North, a 3D digital representation of our city. We have leveraged a few key layers which make up our 3D base map. These 3D models were generated from our building footprints using the ArcGIS 3D base map solution, and also include some pictometry models that we have captured as part of our business zone review. We can toggle between this schematic view to reveal a more realistic view of our city in satellite mode. We've also brought together other data sources used to visualize our serviceability of underground 3 water infrastructure. These layers can be turned on and off, and because they are below the surface, can be visualized by toggling the underground mode. This 3D base map provides context to numerous plans and projects that we have going on around the city. Projects are generally short-term plans on an individual parcel, while plans refer to long-term urban planning being conducted by our team. We'll take a look at some specific plans and projects in more detail soon, but these can be accessed from the sidebar in the application. Urban planners can also access indicators from the sidebar. Indicators provide planners with insight about our city. Some examples of our indicators include our strategic cycle network, which can be used to understand accessibility patterns, or we can include layers relevant to our district plan, like airport noise zones, school location and zones, or this one, our flood-prone areas. Having all these GIS services available to our planners in one location makes access to information easy. What we've also loaded into our indicators are our catalyst project areas, or what we'd like to call our 3 big city making moves. They are enabling for sustainable growth, city centre transformation, and enhancing the Mauri of the Manawatu River.
And here we have the big green cumbersome beast, the district plan. Viewed by developers and designers as a bit of a difficult monster to navigate and apply when preparing their proposals. It can be a bit of a tension point between the city and development. It is our main development tool used, and we use it to regulate land use and promote sustainable management of the city. It gives us direction on different zone parts of the city, residential, business, industrial being examples. It tells us what can or can't happen and where. It has rules that govern what development can occur as of right, and what may or may not need to be assessed as part of seeking a resource consent. Urban design assessment criteria is embedded within the plan, and in certain zones, we apply that on different proposals seeking consent. We know if we can codify the rules and make it available as a digital tool to the development community, then this will be able to help them test and measure their proposals against the rules as they progress their projects from feasibility to resource consent. So this is making the project visible. You can see there's a pin on the middle of the screen, and to the right there's a visual, a description of the proposal and some links to web pages and so forth. So this is a scenario where the council is perhaps looking to rezone part of a redundant park space to residential zone for housing or social housing or medium density housing. You can see the green being underlined here being the recreation zone and the cream being the residential zone with all the buildings surrounding the site. To the right we can scroll down, we can select the different land zone we want to apply to the site, select some of the parcels and assign it as residential zone. We can get a sense of how much allocation of space is given over to those parcels. We can then start to look at some of the district plan rules assigned to the residential zone, such as height, recession planes, maximum build heights, and start to get a sense of what those building envelopes look like and understand what that relationship looks like to the existing architecture next door, and just really sort of see the type of building envelope that we're working within if we are to look at residential zone. On the right, we can again sort of see some of the provisions of the district plan, site coverage, maximum build height. We can start to scroll down and look at assigning a typology of building to the site and applying that and just seeing what does that mean about where the bulk and location can sit on the site. You can see here that obviously it's set a bit deeper into the site under that proposal. Now, if we look at the parcel, we've got to think about how we would subdivide that down, for instance, to sort of create the spaces for the building, platforms for the open space, how we need to allow for vehicles to come in off the road network to access the site and to give over space for parking. So here what we're doing is we're now starting to sort of break the larger lot down into smaller parcels. And again, we can go back and test that bulk and location, and what we'll find is that the building allocation and form will sort of change.
In terms of project feasibility, we have applied available information to the site, zoning, infrastructure, district plan provisions, to gain a sense of spatial allocation for building parcels, open space, vehicle access and parking. Now we will progress the feasibility design further, dialing in a little deeper into development scenario planning, getting a sense of the building typology, density and mix that can assist to confirm a viable development option for the site. We can now see a future building typology mix allocated for the site. District plan zone provisions such as height and setback are automatically applied, giving us a sense of the site density, bulk and location in relation to the surrounding urban structure and form. We can then highlight individual parcels and start to test other building typologies. Looking at this corner parcel, you can see it's allocated as retail on the ground floor and low-rise office on the first floor. You can adjust planning rulings here, or we can look at another typology mix, for example, retail on the ground floor with residential apartments on top, and get a sense of the floor plate size, for example. We can interrogate building typology further and better understand the amount of floor area across the site depending on typology and building floor levels. We can also test other typologies to get a sense of change to physical bulk and location. We can also understand development capacity by assessing indicators such as population, household, job creation, water use, waste generation, energy use, carbon emissions, etc. And again, test other typology options.
And so now in this scenario, we've gone a little bit further down the road on the same site. We can understand the bulk and location of different typologies. We can see the allocation of those typologies across the site. And we're really gearing up now for pre-application to seek resource consent. So we can see to the left, we've got our project description, we've got imagery of what's going on, the links to the web page. We're able to import a file, a SketchUp file or a Revit file into the platform and start to look at the site in real time with the developers and the designers in the room, interrogate the site, walk through the site and really give feedback to both the positive aspects and some areas that still require work. We can apply the solar studies tool to understand sort of shading implications both on neighbours or internally on the new proposal. Sometimes there may be alternative options that they want to table at this stage, and so we can assess both of them through the same process. So what we're really looking for here at the moment is a whole range of urban design outcomes. What's the overall sort of bulk and density? What's the architectural form? We can use the editing tools to address some points that we might be trying to sort of highlight, such as using the trees where we may need more trees or we need to change trees to be taller. We can take the model and assess it both from sort of bird's eye view, but also come down to the street. And here I'm really interested in such things as the architectural interest of the building, the amount of activation at the ground floor, the solid to void relationship of the window fenestration and the blank facades, the roof line, the architectural interest of the roof line, the relationship to the existing built form, and the relationship to how it sits on the corner and on the street. So there's a whole lot of things in the round that we need to think about when we're looking at proposals. We can also take the Street View tool and drop the little guy into the street like we do on Google Maps, really get a sense of the existing street character and the change to that by this new proposal. So some really good tools in this platform to make some pretty robust sort of decisions and feedback to the developers. Hopefully through that they've had feedback, they've gone away and made some changes, they've de-risked their project, they've gone for resource consent, they've obtained their resource consent. This is the proposal they've landed on. They can now go in and update the project description to say that it is now in construction.
Often we're required to consult and seek public feedback on city-making projects. Getting people engaged is always a challenge. How we communicate is key. The need for improved visual communication and storytelling is critical and has previously been something councils have not been good at. We see Arcgis Urban as a key tool to facilitate future engagement and help the elected councillors make better decisions. Pictures are more engaging than words. What we're looking forward to doing is using Arcgis Urban as a tool to engage with our community and facilitate the gathering of feedback from them about our plans and projects. The Civic and Cultural Precinct Master Plan is a project seeking to transform our city centre with a rebuilt museum, a new convention centre, a hotel, a rangitane cultural centre and apartment housing. What we've done here is loaded up the 2 design options that have been presented to the councillors and placed them into Arcgis Urban. We also have the existing environment listed as option 0. We plan to make this model available to the public for future engagement. They'll be able to compare each of the plans in 3D and toggle back and forth between the existing environment and what's proposed in each of the 2 options. To make this model available to our users, it's just a matter of configuring the Urban project and sharing out to the public to enable feedback. Once enabled, we can set a feedback cutoff date, which will close off submissions at that time. The feedback capability opens another panel for our internal council staff to monitor and collect the feedback. But for a member of the public, it's really easy to create a new comment by dragging the speech bubble onto a location in the scene relevant to their submission. The user can then write their comment into a speech bubble and send it through to us. We'll receive that piece of feedback and be able to see exactly where they're referring to, as well as respond to the comment. While this is something we're yet to trial with our public users, we're looking forward to seeing how this new technology will be able to make it easier for council to engage with our stakeholders online.
So you have seen what Arcgis Urban can do for a single site. Imagine what it can do for planning and developing an entire city.
Many thanks to Tewini and the team in Palmy for sharing their awesome work and their plans. We're looking forward to seeing the project progress to the next stages, including working with the people of Palmerston North through the public engagement piece. Let's take a moment now to look at another of our event's gold sponsors, this time GBS. GBS is an Esri Gold partner focused on delivering world-class location intelligence solutions tailored to achieve real business benefits for organisations. They have a highly experienced team of GIS professionals, including software developers, solution architects, analysts, project managers and technical consultants. GBS are keen to talk to you about how they can assist you getting the most out of your Esri platform. They provide a range of consulting services from technical advice, architecture, business analysis and general GIS support through to high-level geospatial infrastructure strategies. We want to thank GBS for their support of this event. Now, many of you will be familiar with the adage that ports and airports are like mini cities or towns in their own right, in that they have many of the same challenges, albeit on a smaller scale and with a much lower resident population. Today, we're going to hear from Napier Port about how they're using ArcGIS to best manage their own small town, a town which is subject to some very intense activity squeezed into a small space, and how they're using technology to manage this space safely and efficiently. Also, in this particular case, unlike most ports or airports, they do have a resident population, and so we've asked Matthew June, the port's GIS and CAD specialist, to describe his work across the port, including helping to look after a very special resident population.
My name is Matthew June. I work for the Port of Napier. I've been here about 1.5 years, and we are working here at the port. We are the 4th largest port in New Zealand. And we are heavily invested in GIS technologies at this point. So one of the things about running a port is how intensive it is. It's a relatively small space with lots and lots of activity going on. And operationally, you need to avoid both the intense movement of things as they are happening on the port, but also you need to avoid those planning clashes from a time and work effort perspective. And in the meantime, keep everyone safe. And that is one of our major focuses here at the port. Very much looking at how do we interconnect those dynamic things, those interconnected operations. So that's our goal. And like I said, keeping everyone safe as we go through. Additionally to keeping it, the work that goes on normally, we've got what we're doing is we're building the Wharf 6, which is impacting a fairly good section of our port, both in storage and in the activities themselves. So we've got all the normal operations happening at the time that we're trying to, say, get many concrete trucks in and out of a site. So again, the safety aspect, knowing what's happening when and where are vital, keeping everyone safe. Yeah, additionally to the construction that we have going on out there, we've got to take care of the smaller residents. We've got penguins, little blue penguins out on the wharf that need to be looked after and moved and managed. For which we've actually got a penguin sanctuary set up for them. So that those guys are ongoing all the time. Additionally, while pile tracking is happening, we do marine mammal observations. So we have lookouts that are actually standing out waiting for something to happen. And if something does happen, they will use one of our Survey 123 apps to record what it is, where it's happened, where it's come from, how many, say a seal or could be a dolphin that's out there. So we use all of those things to record and work into our management plans of how we protect the environment while we are doing that large scale development. So one of the things and one of the ways that we've started pushing out all the data that we've got is through local maps. And that helps us manage who can see what, and having all that information in one spot really helps us out. So a person can go in and if they're interested in our noise management and what that means to the surrounding communities, they can use our noise management application to look at where the noise is most intense and where it looks at what we can do for remediation in those areas. We can also use one of our flagship programs right now is called PAM. It's the Port Activity Map, and the idea is that we bring all of our or as many of the activities that we can get that are happening on site onto the map, so people are aware of all of those safety implications that they might have if they have to come in and say a truck driver needs to follow a traffic management plan. They know they're going to be crossing into areas that might be bunkering or fueling or repairs and maintenance or something that is taking place on the roadway, or fumigation that might happen out in the logging areas. So we very much want to integrate ship visits through our new program called ShareWater. So we're bringing in data from multiple locations. ShareWater brings in all the shipping information. The SAI 360 is our safety and permit management system. We'll have those things in our application as well. So what we have is doing our best to have a live map, and eventually we'll have even down to forklifts and perhaps trucks and cranes and what all the activity that we can get on the map. one of our projects that kicks off periodically is dredging, and we have requirements through resource consents and others to track, to ensure that we're both taking out what we're meant to take out and we're putting it where we're meant to put it. And so one of these, ArcGIS allows us to provide that information to the public as well as those that are monitoring our resource consent. So this actually fulfills one set of data, tracked daily, fulfills many requirements. And that's what we like to try to do, is knock off as many things as we can at once and supply that information as transparently as we can. One of the things that we are seeing now is that we're starting to go from projects that are interesting, that maybe a section here or a section there uses, and that we're moving into those are tools. That is information that is used across the port. So when we talk about things like PAM, that is something that we will use daily. That is something that, although site works don't just mean something to the safety folks, they mean something to our folks that are out in the logging sections, our companies that do the subs and load the ships, the stevedores. They will get information out of that. And we're looking at one set of data that's feeding everyone. So some of the next steps of PAM are we're looking for those rules of geofencing, and we're looking for clashes of information as we move through, as we plan the next steps. We're looking at the map will set off an alert if someone tries to, say, do hot works or welding or anything with sparks next to or close to a fueling. So we want not only to be able to see it, we want some feedback from that map, and we want it to provide us information and do the alerts. We want alerts, and we want it to actually be smart. Okay, well, thank you guys. Really appreciate the time to show what the Port of Napier is doing, and I hope it was helpful, and we will see you next year.
Thank you, Matthew. If you want to learn more about the Napier Wharf 6 project, including the Penguin Sanctuary, you can check out links to the port's websites in the Information tab of the platform. We're looking forward to supporting Matthew in his continued development of the cool port activity map system, including the smart alerting piece. The third of our 4 gold sponsors today is Nearmap. Nearmap brings the real world to you by delivering high-resolution aerial imagery as a service to businesses across the world, powered by industry-leading geospatial mapping technology. Using its own patented camera systems and processing software, Nearmap captures wide-scale urban areas in North America, Australia, and New Zealand, making fresh content instantly available in the cloud via apps or API integration. Every day, Nearmap helps thousands of users conduct virtual site visits for deep, data-driven insights, enabling informed decisions and streamlined operations. Founded in Australia in 2007, Nearmap is publicly listed in the ASX 200. For more information, visit them in the sponsors section of the platform or on their website. And thank you for Nearmap's support for this event. For our last user story today, we wanted to reach out across the Tasman to someone who's been pioneering the use of GIS to literally save lives. Like a number of our speakers this morning, Glen Cook, or Cookie as he's more generally known, is not a GIS specialist himself. His background is in the electrical utility industry, and his passion is using technology to reduce the number of deaths and serious injuries that occur everywhere, every year, due to people coming into contact with the potentially lethal effects of power lines. For his work in this area, he was recently awarded the prestigious Australian Safety Professional of the Year. And we've asked him here today to tell us about his work and his plans. Cookie.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, just quickly, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Scott's given me a great intro there, but why I'm so passionate about this is I've been a first responder to numerous fatalities over the years. Like, I've been on the tools for 30 years, only 10 of those in the safety arena. So, like, I've worked all over Queensland, done over 300 shock investigations. These accidents are devastating, right? It's devastating for the families involved. It's devastating for the workers involved. It's also devastating for workers like myself that have to attend a fatality where someone has accidentally contacted power lines. And it's that they really are avoidable events if we can plan safely around the power lines. And why I am so really passionate about this, I went to a fatality in my hometown now called Hervey Bay. I had a phone call. There was, a bit of an incident down the road, and all my guys were out working. I was the supervisor at the time. I jumped in my vehicle, started driving down the road. I seen, paramedics trying to revive a person on the top of this elevated work platform that you can see on the right there. And on the left, he was up there doing some maintenance on a new sign, and those power lines are 11,000 volts. Most people don't realise that electricity will arc or jump, so you don't even have to touch it. On this particular day, the guy was up there with a paint roller. He got too close to the 11,000 volt power line. It arced. It went through him, and he was basically killed instantly. So when that arc forms, it's 30,000 degrees Celsius, right? So you think about you having a cup of coffee this morning, might be 70 to 80 degrees. It's going to burn you if you drop it in your lap. 30,000 degrees in an instant, all right? So these incidents, if you're not killed, you're severely burned as well, and you have amputations, severe burns, and also lots of damage to machinery. So when I pulled up for this job, though, what really changed my career path, because I never thought that I'd be in safety. I was happy doing my technical type role, fixing power lines. But as I pulled up, I looked to my left and I can see the Hervey Bay High School, and there's like 80 to 100 kids all lined up at the fence because it's lunchtime and they've seen this accident occur. So for me, it really did bring home true. It was like, why don't people understand how dangerous these overhead power lines are, in particular when you're working near them? Why don't people have an adequate plan? What's going on? So I basically approached my business to change my career path, and that's where I sit here today. Give you a bit of a background. In Queensland alone, in Australia here, we've had 7 fatalities since 2016. And 80 serious high voltage contacts resulting in those burns, injuries, and severe equipment damage. So you get the tyres will burn, hydraulics usually blow out, and your electrics are completely destroyed by the high voltage contact. There's 2 devastating ones here. The one on the left is a young boy in September in 2018, where doing some work on a farm, lifted some irrigation pipe into a 22,000 volt power line. He was killed instantly, and his young cousin was severely burned from the arcing as well. And the one on the right was the last incident that's happened to us in July 2019, where a crane operator's contacted 22,000 volts up in far north Queensland in Cairns, and the dogger that was securing the load was killed instantly. These incidents are real and they're happening all the time. So in preparation for this event, I started having a bit of a look what was happening in New Zealand, so we could get an idea of some of the events that are happening over there. And you've had 4 fatalities basically in the last 18 months. So you've had one in Wellington, where a man was electrocuted doing some work with an elevated work platform in a hire yard. You've had 2 in Waikato. They were both agricultural incidents. One was cutting a tree, the other one was doing some pruning of a tree. There's been another one in Hawke's Bay as well. Like tragic events that happen all too often. I'll just go back a bit. We've also got, Energy Queensland, we've got over 1.7 million poles and 220,000 kilometres of power line, and we're the largest power line network in the Southern Hemisphere. We see over or around 500 accidental contacts with that network every single year, and we grade them into different industries, as you can see in this slide. The biggest one is obviously road transport, trucks, sideswiping poles, running into poles. But then you've got the agriculture and the building construction industry where people are operating near overhead power lines and accidentally contacting them every year. So why do people hit power lines when they're working? You know, we can all see the power lines. Have a look at the picture here. You've got a power line that's been marked with all those different flags, but the operator of this machinery still managed to accidentally contact it. So talking to people in my industry, you know, we can see power lines because I'm an electrician. I've been working around them all my life. When I'm talking to a farmer or a person in the construction industry, I ask them the question after they've done something like this, what happened? And they go, Cookie, I 100% knew that power line was there. I just didn't see it. And it's very true. They don't see it because of inattentional blindness. It's basically a point in time that your brain and eye don't really work well together. So if you think about it, a video camera, for example, our eyes don't look like video cameras. It doesn't capture everything that's in your eyesight. Your eyes can deceive you. It's probably a bit of a Star Wars reference there, but your eyes can deceive you, and you need to have a plan to work near those power lines. So thinking about this when I was talking to people, I went, well, why don't people hit more underground cables? You know, we can't see them, but people still don't actually hit them because normally we do, you know, click before you dig or dial before you dig, as we've got here in Australia. So I went, well, we need some sort of planning mechanism so we can deal for the overhead power lines. So in Queensland, we have one underground strike compared to 25 overhead power line strikes. 25 to 1. So all the stuff that we can see, that's what we're constantly running into, right? And it's because of that inattentional blindness. So then basically decided, how can I help, you know, these external industries such as farming and building to actually empower people to have a bit of a plan. So we came up with a look up and live concept using the ArcGIS product, and overlaid all our power lines onto the geospatial map to allow people to actually look at their job site from a different vantage point, and probably a point that they've never looked at before. And if someone's just looked at the power line plan from above and see their property with a power line going right through the middle of it, that is the start of a plan, right? So we came up with a lookupandlive.com.au concept, and we've overlaid all our power lines onto the geospatial maps. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've actually been able to put it onto into the App Store. So the Apple App Store at the moment, we're still trying to push that through into an Android device as well. But yeah, we're sort of working on that at the moment. So this is the lookupandlive.com.au mapping application, right? So as you can see there, we've now had extras jump onto our site as well. So Energy Queensland is actually a conglomerate of two different entities. One's called Urban, the other one's called NZEUC. We also have had two extras join, Endeavour Energy, which is basically Western Sydney in New South Wales, and PowerLink is our transmission network here in Queensland. So we've got the four different networks actually jumped on and are using this this platform to help people plan their power lines, right? And we've tried to make it as simple as possible, just using the out-of-the-box Esri product. You know, people can just jump on, find their address, type in their address, or zoom down to where they want to go, and start planning. You know, here's one that I found in a little town called Gladstone, which is a perfect spot for a construction site. You know, they can jump on the property, they can find out all information about the property. They can also see that there's some power lines there. So there's high voltage power lines, there's low voltage power lines. We also overlay in Queensland with 3-metre exclusion zone around all those power lines. So suddenly people can look at that property and go, what is the plan to work near these power lines? And the law in Australia is basically you need to stay 3 metres away and use a safety observer, right? And this is one of the things that people don't do when working near power lines is using that safety observer. So coming up with this plan helps people to realise that as well. So you can also print the plan. So, you know, a business owner can look at this and go, well, I'm going to print a plan and put some information on there and then send it to all my subcontractors. So everybody knows when they're on site, this is how to work here. So you can go in, print the plan, it pops it out as a PDF document. Now that we can share that with all the workers that are going to be on that site, who the safety observer is or the spotter, Here's his phone number. When you get on site, please ring that person so that we can safely deliver all the equipment. All right? As simple as that. All the different networks obviously have different processes to get safety advice, for example. So this one's in the Ergon Energy region. So the user can then click on the line and find out who the owner is and find out what their process is. So no more, wading through websites looking for the information that you need. All the safety links are right there in front of the user. So we can click on here, for example. So Ergon Energy gives free safety advice. So we'll come out, look at the power line, give the information, and put control measures in place so people can safely work around that power line. So they can click on and get the safety advice or get some power line markers, fill out a high load form, get our rules to work around power lines, get the power disconnected, order some stickers, start a dial for your dig inquiry. All these extra features are there right at the fingertips for the user to quickly navigate and, I suppose, shortcut to the information that we know that they require. You can also, draw, put text on there, put someone's details on the plan. Say this is the person that we want you to talk to, or you might want to exclude an area that people cannot work in, for example. So this is the safety observer area. Please do not work here. The results. So in the past 2.5 years, we've had a tremendous amount of positive results from people using this mapping application. We have seen a 25% total reduction in incidents across the board. So whether it be overhead power lines, underground pillar boxes, stay wires, or poles being hit, 25% reduction. Amazing results. For overhead, so our high voltage power lines and our low voltage bare power lines, we've seen a reduction of 35% of contacts with those overhead power lines in particular. We also map out the industries, as I showed before, but in the civil construction industry, we've seen a 50% reduction of accidental contacts since we've rolled out this application in September 2017. All right, so tip trucks, excavators in particular, working in the civil construction industry, or the earth moving section industry that we call it here, 50% reduction. In the agricultural sector, we have seen a 50% reduction on farms, right? And on farms, you are 50% more likely to hit a high voltage power line as well, right? Simply by the size of the machines that are operating on those farms and properties, right? 50% reduction, right? We have seen a reduction in overall serious contacts as well. Haven't been able to map that out properly yet, but as you can see, people are using the tool. They're using it to plan and work around power lines on their properties. All right, well, I don't think I've gone too far over time there, Scott, so I might sign it off now. All my details are there. If anyone wants to have the chat to me about how we've gone about doing this in Australia, please don't hesitate to call or get onto the guys from Eagle, and they'll be able to get you through to me. Thanks a lot.
Cool, thank you very much indeed, Cookie. I've now heard Cookie's presentation a couple of times, but I still think it's one of the most powerful and effective stories that I've heard, especially given that it's based on the very simple GIS idea of viewing and sharing map data openly. In fact, we at Eagle have been inspired by his story to start a parallel New Zealand initiative. To learn more about this New Zealand project, including how to get involved, join us after lunch in the utilities stream or contact us. We now want to tell you a little about the last one of our gold sponsors today, Clarion. Clarion works with utility, gas, transportation, telco companies and others across the globe to solve complex operational challenges, providing highly innovative solutions to aid in design, construction and maintenance of utility assets and large-scale infrastructure. Clarion software works seamlessly within the Esri platform, delivering project and program management tools for the office, along with integrated specialised apps for field workers working on any mobile device. Clarion is a gold tier member of the Esri Partner Network, and we are also very proud to announce that they are a preferred vendor of Eagle technology. Learn more at Clarion.com and in the virtual sponsor area. And also thank you to Clarion for supporting this event. This brings us almost to the end of the user stories this morning. We do hope that these stories have been interesting and have helped you inspire you in your own endeavours. We do have some more inspirational stories after lunch, but before that we wanted to give you a few more technology updates. Usually at this event we have a sneak peek of the upcoming ArcGIS technology which we leave until the end of the conference. So although we only have a single day with you this year, we wanted to keep up the tradition and give an express view of the road ahead for ArcGIS technology. To give us that update, I'm going to pass back to the Eagle Tech Solutions team, this time starting with Sam in Christchurch. Sam.
Thanks, Scott. To get started with our road ahead, let's first talk about our apps for field operations. Earlier on in the plenary, I announced a new integrated app that Esri will be releasing later this year called ArcGIS Field Maps. With ArcGIS Field Maps, Esri will be providing a single app solution for not only exploring maps, but for high accuracy data collection, location tracking, work management, and navigation. These 5 capabilities aren't new, but they're delivered today with 5 separate apps. And what we've found is that in some cases, organizations are deploying a combination of these apps and it's becoming too cumbersome to manage. Each app needs to be downloaded from the store, signed into, linked together, and in some instances, multiple copies of the data needs to be downloaded. The first release of ArcGIS Field Maps will ship with the core map viewing, editing, and tracking capabilities on iOS and Android devices. And let's jump right into the app and take a look. So I'm running ArcGIS Field Maps here on my iOS device, and what we've got is a familiar experience with this new application. I'm signed into my ArcGIS Online organization and I'm seeing all of the web maps that my organization has shared with me. Both read-only and editable maps are available to you in this single app, and that's because we've effectively merged the capabilities of Explorer and Collector into Field Maps. I can actually filter these maps to show either read-only or editable maps from the search bar. In addition, location tracking capabilities are also built into this app, and I can toggle on my tracks for recording here from the main console within this app. Let me open up this water distribution map now and take a look at some of the features. The maps of course support vector tile based maps, and I can bring up my layer pane to check layers on and off. From the menu though, I've got access to more mapping tools. But one thing that I want to point out here is the markup capability. That's been a useful feature brought through from the Explorer app. Markup gives me the ability to effectively redline my map with lines, shapes and arrows. I can label that markup and then share it with other users via airdrop or through my ArcGIS account. When it comes to feature editing, all of the rich, high accuracy data collection is built right into this app. Using my current location, which can be determined from an external GNSS receiver, I can drop a new feature layer here on the map. In this case, a new service connection. ArcGIS Field Maps will also see the introduction of smarter forms with groups and conditional visibility. Here you can see the groups of questions made available to me, and it just cleans up my whole experience when going through and filling out these attributes. This grouping capability is going to be expanded with conditional visibility later this year. Conditional visibility will incorporate that desired workflow where certain questions of fields become irrelevant as the user progresses through the form and they are hidden from the pop-up. And with the new snapping capabilities, I can then extend a lateral from this new service connection back over to my Toby. So I also want to give you a sneak peek at the ArcGIS Field Maps back office web app. The homepage lists all of your maps for you here in this one location. You can hover over and edit sharing permissions, or delete the map, or click into the map and edit more of its properties. And the overview tab here gives us high level information about the map, including the title, the summary, and the offline status of the map. But I want to focus in on the layer tab. This is where we can actually achieve what we currently do by configuring the pop-up inside the map viewer, but in a much more intuitive fashion. By clicking on a layer, we can see all of the feature templates, and these can be reordered by dragging them up or down. I can also click on each of those templates and actually define the default values for any of those templates. And if I wanted to create more templates with default values, I can just copy one of those templates and set the new default values. So that's how you can define feature templates. But when it comes to the attribute pop-up that you actually see in the Field Maps app, you can configure those using a new concept called forms. With the service connection, I've configured a form with 3 various groups and organized various fields into those groups. And you can create a new field group by just dragging it in from the right-hand side. Now I hope you get a sense that this will be a powerful new way to work, and you can see here you've got a lot of access to the properties of these maps and configuration that you can all make through the Field Maps web application. So when will Field Maps be released? Well, the incorporation of 5 separate field apps into one isn't going to happen overnight, and Field Maps will be released in phases. The first phase will be released later this year and will include everything demonstrated today, including the existing capabilities of Collector, Explorer and Tracker. Phases 2 and 3 will not be released in 2020. Those will come next year in 2021. The second release of Field Maps will incorporate task management capabilities of Workforce, and then the navigation capabilities of Navigator. That'll be incorporated into the third phase of the Field Maps release. So what will happen to the existing field apps once they're incorporated into Field Maps? We do recognise that we have many customers who have deployed our current field apps and have created documentation that support those tools, including training, cheat sheets and more. When an app has been incorporated into Field Maps, according to the phases above, development on the original app will stop and will instead be focused on the new Field Maps application. Now, migration to Field Maps will be seamless though, and there is only more capabilities to take advantage of by moving to the new integrated app. And lastly, Survey 123, Quick Capture and Arcgis Earth are apps that will continue to exist as focused apps and will not be incorporated into Field Maps. Field Maps will work alongside Survey 123 and Quick Capture with app linking, and their own dedicated development and innovation continues in the road ahead. And because I said road ahead, let's head over to Ed to talk about Arcgis Mission.
Arcgis Mission is a geospatial communications and situational awareness tool. It allows you to create, share and monitor materials for operational use, and it facilitates peer-to-peer mobile communications in real time. Arcgis Mission has 3 core components. The first is the Arcgis Mission Manager. This is a premium app used to manage the organisation's missions, assign mission members, and provision mission content. Arcgis Mission Responder is a mobile app used by mission members in the field to view the mission map, monitor the locations of other mission members, and communicate with each other in the command centre. Underpinning both of these applications is Arcgis Mission Server. This is an Arcgis Enterprise server role that enables peer-to-peer communication. So what are the capabilities? Organisations can use Arcgis Mission to first create, manage, and monitor missions in response to planned and unplanned events. It helps to provide tactical situational awareness, so field teams in the command centre can see the real-time locations of team members and share information and observations. It enables peer-to-peer communication within the Arcgis platform, so field teams in the command centre can send messages and information to each other, even in disconnected, intermittent, and low bandwidth environments. And finally, when the mission's all over, that data is stored within your own ArcGIS, where it can be accessed, viewed, and analysed by different tools across the platform. Arcgis Mission is out now on Arcgis Enterprise 10.8 and above, and over the coming months more capability is looking to be added, so this is definitely one to watch. That's a quick overview of Arcgis Mission and what to expect from it. I'd now like to hand over to Alice.
Thanks, Ed. Currently, there is no way to create imagery layers within Arcgis Online. However, on the road ahead, this will be possible. Within your My Contents page on Arcgis Online, you'll be able to click Create and select Imagery Layer. This will open the Create Imagery Layers window. You'll be given the option of creating a tiled imagery layer or a dynamic imagery layer. You can create both at the same time. You'll then choose the output layer configuration based on your imagery. Next, you'll choose the raster type that best describes your imagery. If you're using raster data from satellites such as Sentinel or Worldview, you can choose those here. You will then configure your properties. If you've chosen one of those satellites, some of this information will be auto-populated. You then will upload your files. This may take some time depending on how many files you upload. You'll then fill in your item details. You'll then create your item. Once it has been created, your item description page will open. After your layer is created, you'll be able to access it anywhere you can connect to your Arcgis online portal. Within Arcgis Online, you'll be able to open the layer within your map viewer. Here, you'll be given new options to configure your layers. From the More Options tab, select Image Display. Here, you can change the renderer and upload custom raster function templates. You can change your symbology, and you're given new raster analysis functions, such as calculate slope, drive aspect, and monitor vegetation. Finally, the imagery layer you create will be available via your portal within ArcGIS Pro. Simply drag and drop the layer you've created into your map. You can now perform advanced image analysis workflows. When the new Create Imagery Layers tool is available within ArcGIS Online, those that do not have an ArcGIS image server license will be able to create image layers and perform basic raster analysis using the map viewer. And now, back to Sam.
Let's take a look at what's on the road ahead for Arcgis Enterprise. Arcgis Enterprise is our web-based mapping and analytics platform that can be deployed within your own infrastructure, either on-premise or in the cloud. There are a variety of deployment patterns available to suit an organization's specific needs. And last year, Esri announced that they are building a new Kubernetes-based architecture for Arcgis Enterprise. Arcgis Enterprise on Kubernetes will be a new deployment option based on the principles of microservices and containerization. Our traditional Windows and Linux deployment options will continue to be enhanced and supported too. Arcgis Enterprise on Kubernetes will offer streamlined deployments, upgrades, and improved resilience and scalability. We're getting very close to an anticipated release date of Q1 2020, and if this deployment pattern interests you, please get in touch with your account manager for more information. Now over to Lauren for the road ahead and local maps.
So the roadmap for local maps. Now you will have seen in the plenary that we showed you local maps 2.3.1. So this will actually be the last release before 2021, which is when we're looking to release local maps version 3. Now it's a bit of a wait, but believe me, it will be worth it. And there's a couple of reasons we're doing that. So we're looking at doing a re-architecture of local maps to leverage the latest technology. So that means we're going to be leveraging the JavaScript 4.x API, and we'll be looking to provide more of a SaaS solution offering. Now, for those of you that have local maps on-prem, there will be a containerized version as well. Now, what this will do is it will allow for faster and more regular automatic updates. And we're also looking at providing more of a modular solution. So if there are components like the reporting, like the RAM module that want to be split out, there is potential to do so. But one of the most exciting things about what's coming in local maps are the new design options. Now, we wanted to be able to provide options to redesign the front end with more of a drag and drop sort of workflow. We wanted to be able to provide more internationalization and accessibility. And most of all, we want to be able to leverage Experience Builder. So you've seen some cool demos today of Experience Builder, and we wanted to be able to give you the option to use that for your local maps. So this could be for the gallery component, in which we will be able to provide widgets so you can design your own galleries and make it unique to your organization. And there'll also be the ability to use it for the viewer. So working in both 2D and in 3D, which you can see in the top left there. So we're working hard to be able to provide this to you in 2021, and come along to the LG session to learn a little bit more about 2.3.1 and what's coming in the road ahead for local maps. So what's next for Esri? Well, obviously they're continuing to work from feedback from the users, you, and we'll be continuing to improve the products and solutions that you use every day. So you can see here, we've got some of the bigger development areas that Esri are looking at towards in the future. So you have areas such as microservices, Kubernetes and containerization, working more with big data. You've got your image exploitation, working even more with voxels. They're also looking at growing and improving the developer experience for those that want to extend the platform and the tools. In the 3D space, there'll be more effect options and moving more into that augmented reality space. And then there are also cool things like voice-assisted capture. Now, these are some of the many areas that are evolving and growing in the platform. And next year, there might be some naming changes, but there definitely will still be segmented releases and stages. So just keep an eye or an ear out for those. Now, Esri are always focused on innovation, but equally they're going to be focusing on the quality and performance enhancements across the platform. So you have that to look forward to and many more things in the coming year.
Thank you, Lauren, and thanks to the team too. Now, you may have noticed that Sam is not only a spatial expert, but also a time traveler with the ability in his video to jump between daylight and nighttime. Unfortunately, while doing this, he jumped a year backwards, and so when he mentioned the release for Enterprise Kubernetes was 2020, it will actually more likely be 2021. The New Zealand Esri community is very strong and continuing to grow. It is supported by a number of initiatives and organisations, many of which you can see in the conference sponsor area. So before we close this morning, I wanted to briefly focus on this area in particular. The first of these organisations is the New Zealand Esri User Group, who are a long-standing and key part of the GIS community within New Zealand. They're a strong supporter of important initiatives such as this conference, as well as the regional user conferences, or RUCs, as well as sponsoring scholarships and various other forms of community-focused work. To learn more about the NZEUG's work, including how to become a member, head over to the NZEUG website. The Esri Partner Network is designed to recognise those organisations which have a close association with ArcGIS technology and can provide additional value on top of the core software platform. Here in New Zealand, we have around 25 Esri partners at various tier levels who can support you in everything from consulting to data to solutions. This year, we have a number of new partners, and you can learn more about them by checking them out in the Esri Global Partner Directory. For both Esri and Eagle, we're committed to supporting ongoing lifelong learning. This comes in a number of different forms, suitable for everyone's own learning style, schedule, and area of interest. These include virtual and classroom-based instructor-led courses taught with New Zealand data by Eagle ourselves, fully offline offerings such as MOOCs, webinar series, and Esri Academy courses, and also Eagle's multi-week immersive learning program, Gallop. You can see more and learn about all of these on the eagle.co.nz/learn site, as well as the esri.com web pages. Esri and Eagle are also very proud to support the GIS in Schools programme for New Zealand. This programme not only provides free GIS software to all New Zealand schools, but also a comprehensive set of New Zealand-specific lessons and resources. These can all be accessed from the newly launched Hub site and teaching resources, linked from Eagle's website. We now have over 300 schools in the programme, which is due in no small part to the dedication of Eagle's Claire Thurlow and the countrywide network of teachers she works closely with. Conservation and GIS have long had a strong association, and we recognise the value that GIS can bring to the important work of protecting our native animals, plants and environments. The Gis and Conservation Program, or GIC for short, is designed to allow conservation groups access to GIS software, as well as connecting these organisations up with skilled volunteers from this GIS community. This programme has been highly successful for many years now and continues to thrive, supporting groups and projects across New Zealand. Go to nzgic.org to learn more. Two other programmes in this area are the Non-Profit Programme and the Personal Use Programme. Both of these are designed to allow those outside of the above groups, but with a need for access to ArcGIS for non-commercial use, to do so. Whether that's upskilling, personal projects or charity work, you can learn more about both of these on the Esri.com website. We wanted to provide you with a bit of an update on an organisation who we featured a year ago along with their great work. EOS Ecology's Elizabeth Butcher was the recipient of the prestigious Excellence in GIS Story Map Award in 2019 for her excellent story map entitled Engaging Kids Where They Learn. Now, while unfortunately EOS Ecology have not been able to claim their prize of the trip to the Esri UC in San Diego, however 2021 is looking pretty good for them, they have continued to do some really excellent work. And this work includes their latest project entitled Nature Agents, which connects schools, science, community, conservation and GIS. It's a really cool initiative, beautifully presented in their story map, which you can check out in the resources section of the platform. This year's competition is in place of the Excellence in GIS Award, which EOS won last year. We've awarded it at the conference for the last many years, and there's a lot of prestigious winners in the past. This year, we asked you to enter a project or initiative which demonstrated how you are using GIS to unlock hidden insights and data, or indeed to see what others can't. We had some truly awesome entries from many different disciplines and types of application. The judges reviewed all of the entries and selected a subset as finalists. These finalists can be seen here, and their story maps are available to be viewed on the Information tab inside the platform. However, we could only have one winner, and that winner will take home the prize of a trip to the Esri UC in San Diego in July 2021. Fingers crossed. So we're very proud to announce that this year's winner is David Habercorn from PowerCo for his Overhead Renewal Planning tool. The judges felt that this was an excellent piece of work using analytics within ArcGIS to understand the condition and criticality of the thousands of assets across the PowerCo network, and then exploring this data in a variety of ways, including insights for ArcGIS and innovative map visualizations. So congratulations to David. You can actually see his presentation in the Advanced Analysis stream in the session this afternoon, and his winning story map is also in the Information tab. That brings us to the end of this morning's session. Just to remind you that all of the recordings of the sessions this morning will be available back here in the platform from later in the day tomorrow. From here onwards, please do check out the Agenda tab in the options for this afternoon. That's where you can choose your choose from 4 sessions for the 2 different sessions this afternoon. I now want to thank all of you for joining us this morning, and I also want to thank our speakers who presented from various parts of New Zealand and beyond. Thanks also to our sponsors. Do check them out over lunch. And I want to thank the team who helped put this together from an audio-visual perspective. Edgar and his team at Encore have done an amazing job of helping bring this conference together from a fully physical to hybrid and then to a fully virtual format. Finally, thanks to the other Eagle staff behind the scenes who've made this event happen. And big shout out in particular to Catherine, along with Ted and Olga. That's it from me. Enjoy your lunch break. We'll see you all here this afternoon for the continued sessions in the individual streams, which begin at 1:45 p.m. Thank you and see you soon.